Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today another detailed forecast update coming your way. We're going to be talking about some very heavy rainfall across the southwest of Western Australia, some heavy rainfall on the cards of southeast Queensland and far north Queensland, and some more cold fronts expected to sweep up and impact the nation's south. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Your support is greatly appreciated. We're going to start things off over in Western Australia. You can see here a lot of rain streaming in ashore across the southwest, just north of Perth at this time, and that has resulted in falls across the southeast and the eastern suburbs of Perth up to 100 millimetres overnight. Now, my personal weather gauge has picked up 45 millimetres, certainly not the most amount of rainfall. Suburbs such as Jandakot and the areas surrounding it have picked up more than 50 millimetres. We're also talking about 50 millimetres or higher across the hills, and there is currently a severe thunderstorm warning in place for the northern suburbs. We're looking at severe thunderstorms bringing the risk of heavy rainfall across the northern suburbs between Joondalup and Gingin. The threat of these is expected to ease later on this morning, and the threat is already beginning to ease at this time. But you can see here a large swathe of these yellow to orange rainfall colours here. That is moderate to heavy rainfall, and this is at times dumping accumulations up towards 25 to 30 millimetres an hour. Certainly some heavy rainfall for this time of the year in the Perth metro area. So looking at a risk of severe thunderstorms throughout the northern suburbs for locations between a line from Joondalup up towards Gingin. That includes suburbs such as Chittering and Bullsbrook, and then inland into the hills such as Gijiganup, and then across towards the wheatbelt cities of Northam and York. The rainfall threat will ease, like I said, later on this morning for these areas, but we are still expecting showers to continue throughout the day, and there will be isolated heavy falls from those showers as well. Now, there were some heavy falls as well across the southwest corner of Western Australia into the Leuven sort of area. We did see falls up towards 50 to 55 millimetres across the Vass region. Falls weren't as heavy as expected. The majority of the rainfall was, like I said, in the eastern suburbs of Perth and the southeastern suburbs, where we did see, like I said, 100 millimetres fall outside of Jarrahdale. We also saw 80 millimetres of rainfall fall at Serpentine, and some heavy falls recorded as far out as Pingelly, which picked up 53 millimetres. So certainly some very good rainfall overnight. And this rainfall for some areas, especially in the northern suburbs and the northern parts of the wheatbelt, will continue throughout the course of today, or at least this morning, before easing off at around lunchtime. The showers will pick up across the southwest throughout the course of this morning and pick up in the Perth metro area, especially for the southern and the eastern suburbs later on this afternoon at around 2 or 3 p.m, before clearing out of the Perth metro area at around 5 or 6 p.m, and really easing out by the later hours of this evening. And then it looks like a relatively dry, stable and calm picture for a lot of the southwest of Western Australia for a good couple of days. There will be some showers through Thursday and Friday here and there across the southwest, but there'll be more on that later on in the video. But it looks like it'll be a return to the stable, calm, dry conditions for at least a couple of days. More on the southwest later on in the video. We're going to move over to Queensland right now. We do have an impending rain threat, especially for the southwest. Now, the forecast did do a bit of a change last night. It looks like a dramatic change on the rainfall accumulation map, but what just happened was the low pressure system that we are expecting moved about 100 or 150 kilometres further towards the east, and that has changed the trajectory of where the rainfall is to be expected. But first, we're going to talk about these thunderstorms here that are currently impacting areas around Rockhampton and Gladstone. You can see them here on the radar satellite image. There are a couple of showers, only light to moderate falls outside of Emerald, that sort of area, currently occurring. There are some heavier blotches of rainfall, I guess, offshore. This rainfall will pick up throughout the course of this morning and into the early hours of this afternoon, especially for the coastal and the offshore regions. There is a chance of some pulse thunderstorm activity tonight. Not expecting severe thunderstorms at all for this part of Queensland, and we could be seeing accumulations tonight up towards 20 millimetres from this rainfall. So just a heads up that there is some heavy rainfall on the cards for some locations. Certainly not rainfall that's going to be causing flooding problems or a flooding situation across this part of central southern coastal Queensland, but we are still talking about the risk of some isolated heavy falls that could cause some flash flooding in built-up locations. Again, 20 to 30 millimetres falling in 30 minutes can be quite a lot of rainfall, even for this part of Queensland. That kind of isn't the main threat, though. The main rain threat, that is the immediate rain threat. But over the coming couple of days, we're going to be seeing a building low-pressure system in the Coral Sea, connected to a bit of a trough that's kind of connected to a monsoon. To be honest, you can't see it yet on this rain forecast here, but you can start to see it develop early next week. And you can see, instead of developing further towards far north Queensland, The low pressure system itself actually develops in a line in the Coral Sea, pretty much along the Great Barrier Reef from a location on a similar latitude of Mackay down towards the southeastern corner of Queensland and the northeastern corner of New South Wales. And from Monday morning, you're talking about the chance of some very heavy rainfall that's going to be materialising offshore. And when this rainfall does get itself onshore, which you can see it does at times around the Rockhampton Wide Bay area, and then across locations such as the Gold Coast and Brisbane by Monday afternoon, the rainfall will be in isolated places quite heavy. Now, as this low pressure system organises itself further, it's going to be channeling a bit of an onshore flow with easterly to northeasterly winds for the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast, and the Brisbane coastline area. And you can see it here into the early parts of next week from Monday afternoon through Tuesday and even in towards Wednesday. You're talking about a consistent rain stream from this low pressure system being pummeled ashore into this part of Queensland. And combined with a weak low pressure system here over the top of the Sunshine Coast, this rain stream that's going to be funneled ashore is going to last for a couple of days and result in some pretty high rainfall accumulations. So certainly something we're going to need to keep a very close eye on. We're also talking about the chance of some good rainfall accumulations across the northeastern coast of New South Wales. We will be seeing steady light to moderate falls, which could turn into moderate to heavy falls for one or two locations for the New South Wales coast from about Tuesday mid-afternoon into Wednesday next week. We're also talking about a little bit of heavy rainfall out in the more rural parts of northern New South Wales beyond Tamworth out towards Lightning Ridge and St George in Queensland. There is a chance of some showers and storms out there. There's also the chance of showers and storms throughout the Queensland coastline starting from around Monday. You can see them quite consistent around the Rockhampton Wide Bay sort of area down towards Agnes Water and Gladstone. Some showers and storms will continue through Monday and into Tuesday, but they will ease off at around Tuesday afternoon and become concentrated. This heavy rainfall will become concentrated to the Brisbane sort of area, or at least in the immediate vicinity of Brisbane. Now, in terms of rainfall accumulations, this rainfall really does add up. We're going to start north and head further south without touching on far north Queensland just yet. That's a few minutes away. We are looking at a bit of rainfall outside of the Mackay area. You can see here out around Yellowbury, we're looking at up to 20 millimetres of rainfall. Some decent rainfall as well is expected to come through today. About half of this 20 to 50 millimetres that's expected out here outside of Emerald and Rockhampton will fall today, but we're still talking about pockets up towards 30 to 50 millimetres from this rainfall event sometime on Monday or Tuesday next week. Emerald looking at a healthy 15 millimetres, Rockhampton looking at about 15 millimetres too, Gladstone looking at about 25 to 30 millimetres, some good rainfall there, and the first good rainfall that they've had in a couple of months at this time. Bundaberg also looking at some rainfall. It will be hit and miss, but we are still talking about maybe 10 millimetres there, and then widespread accumulations between 60 to 120 millimetres along the Sunshine Coast, extending from around Noosa Heads down through towards about Redcliffe in the northern suburbs of Brisbane. Brisbane itself are looking at a healthy 100 millimetres of rainfall. The majority of that will be falling Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Also some decent rainfall down towards the Gold Coast too, about 150 millimetres of this stuff. And I think coastal suburbs such as Coomera will once again cop the most amount of rainfall from an event like this. There's also some good falls expected into the New South Wales side of things. You're looking at about 150 outside of Lismore and a very healthy 100 to 150 outside of Coffs Harbour, even down towards Taree, expecting around 70 millimetres there. And the rainfall not stopping until it gets to the southern suburbs of Sydney and Wollongong. Some good falls still expected down there. Now, I would also like to add that you need to take this forecast with a very heavy pinch of salt. It is still a week away, and it is a semi-tropical weather pattern, or at least the low-pressure system that's driving it does have some tropical characteristics, at least in its motion and its formation, whereabouts it is. It does have some tropical characteristics, which means that the rainfall here is very, very difficult to predict. And if you do have any specific questions about this weather system, please do let me know in the comment section down below. I've done my best to summarize it, but this is a difficult forecast to make. And I'd also like to say things will change on this system. The rainfall could move to a completely different location like we have seen overnight, but I do feel like there's been a general downtrend in terms of rainfall for the central to the northern Queensland coastline, and we're just going to be seeing a general uptrend in the amount of rainfall expected for New South Wales and the southeastern part of Queensland from this weather event. These sort of things do happen around this time of the year. It's not totally uncommon at this time, but we are still looking at a bit of an August downpour here for this part of southeastern Queensland and northeastern New South Wales, with falls potentially up to 200 millimetres falling between Monday and Wednesday next week. Again, take it with a heavy pinch of salt, but it is around 5 days out from now, and the forecast is generally pretty reliable when you're talking about 5 to 7 day forecasts here. So yeah, that basically does it for this. We'll just give a quick forecast for far north Queensland. You can see a big change on the forecast from yesterday. In terms of rainfall over the next 24 hours, there's going to be none, and even over rainfall over the next 3 days, there is very little for this part of far north Queensland. There'll be some showers piping up tomorrow afternoon and into early Friday morning. Again, maybe 20 millimetres will fall for some locations outside of Innisfail, but the big change in the forecast is there's dramatically less rainfall next Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, when we were talking about some very heavy falls possible for far north Queensland. They have been completely eliminated from the forecast this time, and again, it is reciprocated between the other forecast models. GFS saying limited rainfall for far north Queensland, same thing with the Axis G3, so I do feel like the rainfall event that we were talking about, and I should have seen this coming just considering the fact that the rainfall was downtrending for about 3 days in a row. I should have seen this coming and said that the weather event was now becoming increasingly unlikely, but yeah, here it is on the forecast models. That rainfall event that we were talking about later next weekend and into early next week for far north Queensland, I reckon that's completely busted, and I don't think it's going to materialise on the forecast. And that's just the way things go with the Australian tropics. They're there one day, the rainfall, and then it's gone the next. So we will keep you posted, but I do feel like that is the threat of that rainfall gone. And the majority of the rainfall has moved down into the southeastern parts of Queensland, and that's all because the low pressure system is now forecast to form about 150 to 200 kilometres further towards the east. It's funny how much a little bit of distance can impact the weather for some locations. Now, as promised at the start of the video, we're going to move down to Western Australia. Again, I do apologise for completely neglecting the southern parts of the state. We will, of the nation rather. We will be covering them a little bit more in detail in later forecast updates, especially when they do have significant weather to be talking about. But for Western Australia, we did have some very heavy rainfall last night, as I did say. That's not the focus of this part of the video, though. We are talking about a little bit of rainfall later on tonight before a return to the cool, calm, dry conditions powered by those high pressure systems until later on this weekend. From about Sunday morning into early Sunday afternoon, we're expecting another cold front to impact the southwest of Western Australia. This one could be bringing some showers and storms for locations between a line from Bunbury across to Albany, including the southwest capes and communities such as Pemberton and Walpole from around Sunday between 2 and 8 a.m. The front will cross the coast of the Perth metro area at around 6 to 7 a.m. a little bit later, maybe around 8 a.m. for the northern suburbs. Again, it's not expected to be strong. There will be some damaging wind gusts up to 70 to 80 kilometres an hour, maybe up towards 100 kilometres an hour for the southwest capes, but again, nothing too significant there, and probably only about 15 to 20 millimetres from this cold front on Sunday morning. There'll be a few showers behind this weather system as well, starting up Monday morning into early Monday afternoon. The showers will continue through to Tuesday morning, and it looks like a constant and steady stream of rain from cold fronts and low pressure areas through Tuesday, Wednesday, and into the early parts of Thursday, by the looks of things, at the southwest corner of Western Australia, before a big high pressure system takes its place on Friday. And it looks like we have a return to cool, calm conditions once again under the influence from a big high pressure system to start off next weekend. It does look like a weak cold front could impede on those plans there for a clear weekend on Saturday and Sunday the 17th and the 18th of August, but it does look like the chance of a return to the dry conditions at least later on next week, just because of the high pressure systems and how they're going to be located. But that is a big high pressure system, and just looking at this, the heads up for the weather systems behind it, if this high pressure system was to slide through to the southwest corner of Western Australia, we're probably talking about a week of sunshine and dry conditions behind this system. Normally these high pressure systems do cause about 5 to 6 days of dry weather, but this one here, really big, could cause between 7 to 10 days of dry weather. It could be a return to a little bit more of a autumn or a spring-like weather pattern later on into August, which is typical of what we have for this time of the year. In terms of rainfall accumulations over the next 10 days now, keep in mind a lot of this rainfall is going to be coming through, so you want to be subtracting, at least for the hills and the Perth, the northern suburbs, especially for Perth, probably about 40 millimetres of this total. What's going to be coming through on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday next week is around that sort of 30 to 40 millimetre mark for parts of the hills. Perth itself probably only going to see about 20 millimetres of it. Mandurah as well, probably about 20 to 30 millimetres. And then areas across the southwest such as Bunbury expecting closer to 40 millimetres. millimetres, down towards Margaret River and Yalling up probably about 40 to 50 millimetres as well. Unfortunately, the rainfall doesn't make it too deep into the wheat belt. There will be some places picking up around 10 to 20 millimetres of rainfall from the weather systems coming through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, but I don't think the rainfall will be widespread, and it certainly won't be making it too far north, with only a few drops expected anyway north of sort of about Three Springs or Morawa. The rainfall will be pretty light out there, and certainly nothing into the Gascoyne or the Murchison as to what we have been seeing this winter season, where it's very typical for cold fronts to sweep up there and dump 50 millimetres, but that is not going to be happening from this system. The one coming through on Sunday is a very weak cold front. It's certainly nothing strong or nothing to be worrying about. I'm just mentioning it in this video because it is an interesting thing on the weather forecast for the Perth metro area, and it is more rainfall there as well. Now, later on next week, after this high pressure system sweeps out of sort of the southwest corner or the southeastern corner of Australia, we'll be seeing a little bit of a return to the wet conditions from around this weekend onwards. A little bit of a cold front coming through tomorrow morning to tomorrow afternoon for the South Australia, and into tomorrow evening for Victoria and Tasmania. Again, not too much rainfall is expected there, up to about 15 to 20 millimetres for the coastal parts of South Australia, including the Eyre Peninsula, about 10 millimetres for Adelaide and about 5 millimetres for Melbourne. The west coast of Tasmania will pick up between 20 and 30 millimetres from this weather system, but you can see I've just played the forecast through to next Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, and there's been no rainfall across South Australia, Victoria and Tasmania between tomorrow and Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, which means that we're returning into a bit of a dry period there, and it certainly is getting a bit concerning because some of the winter accumulations across South Australia and Victoria, especially in terms of rainfall, have been pretty disappointing and very much dismal for this winter season. And you can see it here on the drought monitoring map. There's actually some pretty significant drought-like conditions starting to eke into Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania. Very concerning indeed, and we do need some good rainfall to really saturate the soils here, and it's only going to continue, which is a very big concern indeed, because they do desperately need some rainfall down there. So this is a little bit of a problem that is starting to get a little bit out of hand, the lack of rainfall across the southeastern corner of Australia, and it's something that I wish to cover a little bit more in depth in a later forecast update. And once again, there's no better way to stay tuned for those forecast updates than by subscribing to the channel. If you want to keep yourself updated with the best weather coverage Australia has to offer, please do consider subscribing, and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. A special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now, and I could not run this show without them, so again, their support is greatly appreciated. If you've got any questions or comments about this forecast, please do let me know in the comment section down below. If you've got any specific forecast needs that you'd like for your location, also please do let me know. I'll get back to as many people as I can throughout the course of today. But that is all from me, and I'll catch you all in the next storm.